Thank you again so much for being here. I think what a good starting point would be is, for you to tell us a little bit about what happened to you and your recovery journey that you've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of this information that I'm giving you is honestly secondhand. I don't remember any of it until, well, obviously later down I did. But so how it started, I went into work one day. Um, I went in and I was I manage banks, and I told several people that I work with, I was like, I just have the worst headache. Give me like 30 minutes. I'm just going to take a Tylenol, and I'll be good to go. And about 45 minutes later, they still hadn't seen me. And so they went into the break room to check up on me. And I, they asked me a question, and I made no sense talking back to them. I was like slurring. I was just like they're like, something is up. What is going on here? So they thought I was having a stroke. Because then I started vomiting, so they're like, oh my goodness, this has to be like a stroke. What's going on? Apparently they took my phone out. They called my mom, and my mom's like, you have to take him into the hospital. This is not normal for him. I don't know what's happening. So they brought me in. Apparently they admitted me right away.
Hmm.
It was called Methodist Hospital in Minneapolis.
Okay.
um and they instantly put me in for some MRIs, CT scans, and stuff like that, and they saw something funny with my left temporal lobe in my brain. um you know, Apparently it looks like a haze or like a fog over it.
Hmm.
In the moment, they thought it was cancer. So they called my mom and said, we don't know exactly what it is, but we think he has an aggressive brain cancer. Um, we're going to run some more tests and stuff like that. So all of my family immediately jumped on a plane. My mom, my dad flew from Ohio, one of my sisters. I had a brother from Michigan, a sister and her husband from South Carolina. They all jumped on a plane to fly out to Minneapolis. Um, and they ended up figuring out we don't think it's cancer. His brain is swelling though. We don't know why.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm still a case study at Mayo. But it was, I guess, the idea of what it is called autoimmune encephalitis atom.
Okay.
Uh, so what was happening was is my brain, there's like a sac around the brain, and the sac was separating from the brain, and the swelling was just my autoimmune system attacking the brain and whatever that technical term is for the sac that surrounds the brain.
Hmm.
And so within 3 days, the swelling went across my whole brain.
Oh,
So it
wow.
started my left temporal lobe, and within a couple days, it went fully across. And as that happened, my ability just went downhill. I lost my ability to walk, talk, see. I mean, within a very short period of time, I lost everything. And so they told my parents, listen, we need to do some aggressive treatments to stop the swelling. They did a craniotomy on me. So like on the side of my head, there's a big scar about 5 or 6 inches long. They're like, we need to release pressure. We also want to do biopsies while we're in there. Um, you know, and so they did all that, and they gave me called tolizumab, I think it is this terminology for it. It's basically a shot that kind of shuts down your immune system to try to keep it to continue from attacking, your brain or whatever, organ it's attacking at the time. So they gave me that. They did a plasmapheresis treatment. They take out all the plasma out of your body and put in donor plasma into you. And they
Hmm.
did a bunch of other things. And over about a month, I started to come out of it. By February, um, while I wasn't, back up to normal by any means, I didn't make a lot of sense. And I remember actually on no, February 1st, I actually think it was the date. My cognitive function came back. Now, I don't remember everything, but I remember bits and pieces of the first couple days. Um, and they instantly, as soon as that started to come back, they're like, okay, we can work with him. I started going through therapy.
Hmm.
I started right away with speech therapy, with occupational therapy, because I had no idea how to write, and like even just like picking up a cup seemed hard at the time. It was crazy. Um, so I did that. The physical therapy started right away because I couldn't walk to use the bathroom. I had to go through all they're helping me take steps and getting my balance back. I didn't have balance properly for weeks.
Hmm.
Um, So going through all that was honestly, I would say, the toughest part of my journey because I don't remember actually any of the treatments or any of the severity of what I was going through at the moment.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember the aftermath, just the trying to get back to normal and honestly, kind of the mental struggle that had on me because I was like, is this my new normal? Like, am I never going to be able to type properly? Am I never going to be able to go back to work? Am I ever going to be able to string together a full sentence without, having to sit there and think about what I'm trying to say?
Of course, a lot of unanswered questions at that point, I'm
Oh
sure.
my gosh, yeah, it was incredibly hard, you know. So, just getting back to up and running, even when I wasn't going through occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, my mom helped me immensely with finding different therapy techniques and stuff online, doing like flashcards, as crazy as that sounds, because I'm 30.
Hmm.
Um, just little things that we did all the time, which was exhausting.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I don't know where I'd be without my mom. She was a huge help with that, and um, a lot of that came from her really helped me with some of the therapy. So,
That's awesome.
and now I'm back up and I'm walking. I'm back to work. You know, I am moving back to Michigan, so I'm still in Minnesota right now at the moment. But I'm moving back to Michigan to be closer to family. Um, because some of the I don't know if residual effects from the craniotomy and the biopsies and everything like that. I do get focal seizures now.
Okay.
There are times where, especially as I get, sorry, this truck's going by, but as I get tired, I just like will lose a word that I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
I'll be having a conversation with someone, and like an example, I'm trying to say like the sky is blue, and I just can't find the word blue.
Hmm.
And I'm like, it looks like the color of the ocean or the Caribbean. I have to find other ways to like explain what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
Um, and that's something to this day. It doesn't happen all the time, but I'll be having a conversation, I'll just lose a word.
Hmm.
And I'll be like, well, what is that word? What am I trying to say? And someone will be like, blue. And it's yes, that. So that's a frustration of mine because with my job, I have to talk and speak, to my clients, and so that's been a struggle. But for the most part, I would say I'm 95% back to normal, and I'm incredibly lucky and blessed. So
That's amazing. I mean, as a therapist myself, one thing that I look at, when I come to the table is, hey, Kyle, I'm your speech therapist. A big thing for me is, does that person that I'm working with have family support? And you
yeah,
touched a lot on that with your mom. I mean,
oh yeah,
my
100%.
my wish for the people that I work with would be that they had someone like your mom, in their corner because
Yeah,
that's such a critical piece of it. Speech therapy can do their job, OT can do their job, PT can do their job. But you have that firsthand experience of what family brings to the table in terms of that
oh,
recovery.
100%. Yeah.
That's amazing. Um, so let's talk about this. When and how did you find constant therapy?
I think it was, and I don't have like the full clarity of it because I have bits and pieces. It was really foggy for the first several weeks, but I don't remember if it was a doctor or a nurse, but someone just recommended that we try some things.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe that was where it came from. Um, and then like we had looked at some things online. Like there was some things you could do, like almost like little games where you could like try to like test your brain, like just do these little things. Um, so I don't remember if it came from a doctor or nurse that told my mom that, or if it's something that we kind of just organically came upon. But that's kind of how that, really started with for us, you know. Um, and I'm sorry to give you more clarity, but I don't know exactly where it started. But
No,
I
no,
know that it's
that
something that, we used when we weren't at the hospital, just something to kind of help, you know, test the brain, try to get it working, try to get it back up and running.
fair
So
enough. Well, let me ask you this, and again, just to the extent that you're able to recall it, uh,
yeah,
how long did you use constant therapy, and what exercise did you work on the most, or find were the most helpful?
yeah. Um, I think I used it probably from February, probably through April.
Okay.
Um, it was about a 3-month period. Um, because I think that's when I was struggling the most. And I
Mhm.
was like, I mean, to be honest, I was probably feeling really down and depressed because it's like, this used to be so easy for me. Why can I not do any of this? Or why is this such a struggle for me? So it was just those little tests. Like I remember one test, um, it would give you like a list of words to remember.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what portion of it that is, but it was like a list, and you had to like come back and it would ask you like questions like what were the words that you had to remember. There's like some like little tests, almost like not like word searches, but word searches the equivalent of like just things to kind of help me like read and focus on them. Um, there's some like almost like games
Mhm.
like that sound so small, but really honestly we're so big. Like it's just little things that help you like like not tracing things, but tracking things, seeing where they are, like following them down, like doing the little pieces to it. So just when I was sitting at home, because I was home a lot, if I wasn't at therapy or I wasn't at the doctor's office, I mean that's kind of what we just did.
Mhm.
I got an iPad just to do some of those little things. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
It was a fuzzy period of my life, so
Of course. I mean, and again, to the extent that you remember this, what ways do you think constant therapy specifically impacted your recovery?
yeah, I think it really helped me honestly with like memorization.
Hmm.
Honestly, that was a huge part of it because you could tell me something and 3 minutes later I would have been like, what was that? What did they say? Um, like those tests, those little tests for memory, and retention of memory, like that kind of stuff was big. Um, just like the little things, for the occupational side of it, um, like the one game, it was almost like a trace, like you almost kind of trace things, or it kind of had asked you about that. And
Hmm.
I don't even know if I'm blending together like two different like therapy, sessions or types, but there's like a tracing thing where you had to like trace things and build your, I mean, that honestly helped me immensely. Within a couple weeks, I was doing things a lot better with that. Um, there was some of the small, like almost like going back to school things, like the math, those kind of things. Those helped me immensely because I just had no function of that before.
Hmm.
So just those type of little things.
I'm just curious on this because you said you manage banks. Um,
Yeah.
how did you, so you said you worked on the math exercises and those were
Yeah.
helpful. We also have the money tasks in there. Did you work on
Yeah.
those? Like, was that something that, you found helpful or?
You know what? To be honest, I don't think I used the money ones. It was more the math ones that I did. Um, because like I struggled heavily with just like something as simple as addition, subtraction. So I think that's what my mom really focused on with me and
Mhm.
really helped me with because you're not gonna be able to do finance if you didn't do the addition and subtraction. So I don't remember actually doing anything on the finance, but I just do remember like the mathematics of it, those types.
That's so excellent. All right, well, let's switch gears now. So you're
Yeah.
this clinical trial at the Mayo Clinic. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, it, what you're able to share with us, because I know sometimes
Yeah.
clinical trials tend to, be a little hush hush.
Yeah.
What are some of the key clinical findings, that the researchers are looking at in your case?
The findings, I mean, the findings are a little bit hard. I am a case study right now at the Cleveland Clinic and the Mayo Clinic because of how this autoimmune system or attack, I guess I'll call it, came on.
Hmm.
It also left. And they
Hmm.
don't know if it's because of the treatments, if it was because like they don't exactly know because a lot of people have different side effects than I do. A lot of people have permanent brain damage. A lot of people have permanent vision damage. A lot of people have permanent like things in like when I went to Cleveland, because I didn't go to Cleveland for the first month and a half. When they transferred me down there, because I had to live with my mom and dad for several months because I couldn't drive and I had to go to therapy every day. They were waiting for me with a wheelchair, and I was able to walk in, and they were shocked. Um, so the findings that they have, I mean, I have a ton in their app of all the notes from the MRIs and the tests and the, I mean, it's exhausting. I get lost in honestly some of the paperwork that I have from them, but
Can imagine.
they don't have a lot of honestly information. I think that's why the case study is still open
Mhm.
and why they actually reach out to me. to do certain tests. Like, hey, can we do these tests? Can we do this like vision test with you? Can we do this and that? So, um, I know it's not a common case, and there is a more specialized term that I can give you. I could go into the app and find it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think they have a lot of answers for me, which it honestly has been a frustration of mine. Um, because I want to know, is this going to happen to me again?
Yeah.
What will this look like? How do I know if it's happening? How do I know that it's coming on? I didn't know last time. Like all of a sudden, I don't remember a thing. I don't remember going to work. I don't remember any of what happened. So um, yeah, I wish I had more answers for you there too, but I really don't. I
No.
don't mind actually sharing the stuff from the Mayo Clinic app with you guys. Just um, I don't think any of it's that personal. It's just honestly what they tested and what their results were from what they found. And,
Mhm.
you know, I don't have a lot of information for you.
No, no. I mean, I appreciate it, and that's the I hesitate to use the word trouble with case studies when they're ongoing.
Yeah.
It's they don't have answers until they have answers.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. I mean, do you feel like outside of what you were saying with the frustration aspect, and not to minimize that, but do you feel like being in this case study has contributed at all into your healing process, and if so, how?
A little bit. So I don't think I really came to terms with the severity of the situation I was in because I didn't remember it for a long time. I remember the frustration of it, just because of all the therapy and the coming back. That was honestly I think I went through a very heavy season of depression with that because I was like I'm a very active person. Sports are a huge part of my life. Um, it's something that I do a lot. I stay very active. And I wasn't able to do that for the longest time. And I think it did bring on a lot of problems just because I lost almost my will to like continue to try. It was exhausting and I was so frustrated. Um, and so I would say that was definitely part of it. Um, but yeah, no, I don't know that the case study is really it's really, I guess, had to help me come to terms, I guess, with the severity of what it was because I didn't know. And the fact that it's a case study and what they continue to ask me, how my recovery has been, not necessarily in an occupational like therapy type of way, but like how are you doing? Do you get dizzy often? Do you get headaches? Do can you see properly? Are the focal seizures affecting your life heavily? Like that kind of stuff. So,
They're focusing
um,
more on the neurological symptoms rather than just your kind of
yeah,
recovery process.
exactly. Well, and part of the problem actually where that's coming from, because I am a case study, and so I go in for MRIs and follow-ups and stuff like that. I have a hematoma in my left temporal lobe,
Mhm.
that they thought would kind of, your body will kind of reabsorb it or like I guess destroy it.
Well,
Uh,
again, I keep going back to just how great your family support is. It's
yeah,
unfortunately not that common where I hear people having that that level of support. So I
yeah,
think that that's amazing. Um, I have actually just kind of a couple general questions,
yeah, absolutely.
so if there was someone who was in a similar situation, to you,
Yeah.
and they're at, the very beginning of that journey towards recovery, what advice would you have for someone like that?
Um, Honestly, that's the hardest part of their journey. That's the most frustrating. That's the most where you just feel so down because it's like, is this my new normal? Is this what I have to deal with? Is this my life now? Um, it's easy to give up. It's easy to not want to put in the work. It's easier in the moment to just be like, you know what, like this is it. Like this is how it's going to be, and just not push through. You have to, not just for your sake, but if you have people around you, like siblings, parents, nephews and nieces, kids, don't do it for you. Do it for them because, like, realistically, I'm 31 years old right now. I could be living at my mom and dad's house, being driven around by my parents not knowing how to do a lot of things that I do now because I didn't put in the work in the moment. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be where I am now. My life wouldn't be the same. My family's life wouldn't be the same. Um, so if you're not willing to do it in the moment out of frustration and, honestly, like just sorrow from your own loss. It's like, did I lose my ability to walk? Did I lose my ability to write? Did I lose my ability to do any of that? Did I lose my ability to string together a sentence? I'm not saying it's easy. I've been there. It's not easy, but like you have to push through it, if not for yourself, for those around you.
I love
So,
I love that. It sounds, obviously it's a lot of heavy things you're dealing with at that point. You're just
oh,
talking about
100%.
things of, am I going to walk again? Am I going to talk again?
Yeah.
Um, when you were going through this recovery journey, were there any positive things that came out of that? And did those kind of change your outlook as you were going through the recovery process?
A little bit. The therapist that I work with and stuff like that, like they showed me results from so like when I started off, it was very basic for occupational therapy. It was just like tracing a box
Hmm.
and, like writing things out, like trying to. And they really helped me. They're like, Kyle, look what you were doing 2 weeks ago. Look at what you're doing now. This is better. Like, yeah, you may be frustrated because it's not what you used to be able to do, but look at the difference. This is a trajectory you're going down. You can get this back. Like, you can do this. And honestly, I would say just the encouragement
Hmm.
of like people being able to be like, Kyle, look at what you've done. Like, look at how you're improving. Um, just something as evil, like easy as, I had a walker for a while.
Hmm.
And then like it's something that I didn't even think of because in the moment you're just like, "Oh, I don't need this walker. I don't need," which you do. But in the moment you're like, I don't need this. This is so frustrating. And then all of a sudden you're walking without it. And they're like, did you notice like you're walking with a lot more like you're not all wobbly. Like you're walking right now. Do you see 3 weeks ago you couldn't walk like this? Like and just recognizing and celebrating the small victories. I think were a huge part for me because I was frustrated and I was down bad. And even though it's not where I was before that, I wasn't jumping around and sprinting down a court and shooting a basketball or hitting a baseball. Like I was getting there and I could see that at the end of the tunnel. There was light at the end of the tunnel and just the reminders like, hey, this is getting better and you will be better, um, celebrating those moments.
And I think you just summed that up perfectly too, from obviously an outside perspective. And, that's something
Yeah.
therapists will try to impress on the people that they work on is
Yeah.
that, you're not going to go from, like you said, walking with a walker to sprinting down the basketball court overnight.
Yeah.
But there are those small steps in between. And as long as you celebrate those and realize you're making progress towards those goals, the value of that can't be undersold.
Yeah. 100%.
So, awesome. Well, Kyle, that's all I have for today. Thank you again
Yeah.
so much for being interested in talking with me and for sharing your story. This has been fantastic.